Yo, yo, yo. What's good, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in the world. This is Tyrant's Bane. Welcome to the Definition of Anarchy. Today, on March 25th, 2021, on a Thursday, I'm going to talk about what a weapon of war is. We keep hearing this term, weapon of war, this phrase, weapon of war, this. We shouldn't have weapons of war on the streets. Let me explain to you what a weapon of war is. A weapon of war, flat out, is any weapon that you could use during a war. Simple as that. Honestly, there's no such thing as a weapon of war. There are weapons you use during war, but there's no weapon of war, right? So, for instance, a knife, you can use that during a war. You can use that during a battle. A bayonet, knife, a club, sand, rocks, whatever you can use to your advantage, right? A tree limb, you know what I'm saying? Let's say you run out of ammo, you in close quarters, you know what I'm saying? You can slam a door on somebody's hand. There are many things you can use a weapon during the war. This idea that an AR-15 is a weapon of war is complete and utter nonsense. An AR-15, right, is an Armalite rifle, okay? It's an Armalite rifle modeled after the M16 that was used during the 70s during Vietnam War. Now, there was a problem with the M16 during the Vietnam War. You know what that was? It was fully automatic. It was a fully automatic weapon. Why was that a problem? Because when you have a wave when you have wave after wave after wave of Viet Cong flying at you, which is how they used to do it, it was that guerrilla warfare, right? When you have wave after wave after wave of Viet Cong flying at you, and you got guys aiming down range and they're just firing, they don't really, like, the vectors of fire goes out the window. I mean, you're just spraying and praying. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of ammo was wasted because they would just hold the trigger down until the entire magazine was spent. So having a rifle such as an AR or an M16 be fully automatic was at a complete disadvantage. You understand? Now, when you had the M60 or the SAW, that made sense to have, it made sense for those to be fully automatic, because really what they were suppressed by, support by fire weapons or suppressive fire weapons. You know what I'm saying? You would have it in an optimal position at higher ground, and you would use it to hold down or pin down enemy forces so that your forces could go around and flank, and take care of them. You know what I'm saying? So what did they do? By the time I got in the Army, and this is how I have this knowledge, by the time I got in the Army, they got rid of the fully automatic M16. They still had the fully automatic SAW, which is a squad automatic weapon, M249, and they were phasing out the M60 and bringing in the 240 Bravo. When I was getting in, it was a 240 Bravo. Now it's an M244, M240. I don't know why they changed the nomenclature, but those two weapons were the fully automatic weapons for a specific purpose. The purpose was suppressive fire or support by fire. You understand what I'm saying? You have your good position and you suppress or you support during a retreat, right? You'll use it during a retreat to kind of like mow down, spray down range. You're not really trying to hit anything. That's not really the goal. You're just trying to suppress the enemy because they're overwhelming, or you want to pin them down, like I said before. But we had M16A2s, right? When during Vietnam, it was an M16A1. We had M16A2s. They had two fire selections, semi-automatic and 3-round burst. 3-round burst work better because you're not just spinning an entire round. You have to consciously pull the trigger each time you want those 3 rounds to go down range. Well, what happens is when you just have 3 rounds, they discovered that the muzzle rise wasn't as bad at 3 rounds. But once you go past 3 rounds of continuous fire, you have muzzle rise, right? So then they figured that 3 rounds was a good happy medium to aim down and get 3 rounds into your target without too much muzzle rise, okay? So you had 3-round burst, okay? And you essentially use that if you have crowds of enemy coming towards you. But semi-automatic the semi-automatic selection was ideal because you had to aim down range. You had to have a tight grouping. And this is how we trained. You understand? Single round, a single round. You understand? So the difference between an M16 and an AR-15 is that 3-round selection, that 3-round burst. AR-15s don't have 3-round burst. So essentially, and not only that, but they keep talking about M16s. M16s are essentially phased out of the military. Now they use M4 carbines. They're smaller. They're more compact, and they're just as accurate. They have almost just as much range, but they only use semi-automatic and 3-round burst. But that 3-round burst is what distinctifies an AR-15 from an M4. You can't get 3-round burst in the civilian world unless you have some type of permit or something, just like with the fully automatic weapons. So when they tell you it's a weapon of war, if you want to get real pedantic, well, you'll say, no, AR-15 is not a weapon of war because it doesn't have a 3-round burst selection. It only has a safe and fire. That's it. Safe and semi-automatic, meaning you have to pull the trigger each time you want one round to be fired. Okay? So, no, they are not weapons of war. They're not weapons of war in that sense, right? An M4 is a weapon of war in that sense. A tow missile is a weapon of war in that sense. A Claymore mine is a weapon of war in that sense. The 25 Mike on a Bradley fighter, right? Is a weapon of war in that sense. But does it matter? If we can afford it, we should be able to have a Bradley fighting vehicle with a 25 Mike. If we wanted to have the best means to defend ourselves and defend our families and defend our community, we should be able to have Claymore mines. We should be, if we can afford it, personnel grenades, anti-personnel grenades, flashbang grenades, AT-4s, bazookas, anti-tank missiles, RPGs. These, like, if we can afford it and we're not doing anything to harm anybody with it, we're just using it to defend ourselves. We're training with it. We're learning how to use it safely, all this other stuff. We should be able to have that because war can come to us at any moment. You don't have to be conscripted. You don't have to be a soldier to be in a war. You understand what I'm saying? At any moment, China or Russia could decide to storm our beaches and try to take over. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, they've already infiltrated many aspects of our community, many aspects of our country, many aspects of our government, right? At any moment, we could be at war at a drop of a dime. And you want to be able to have access to those weapons of war to defend your home, to defend your community, because the military might not be able to come and help your ass. Your military is spread so thin, it's ridiculous. You understand? And this is why Trump was pulling the troops back, because guess what? Even though the left-right paradigm lie is a lie in the United States, and even though our politicians don't really care about us, guess what? That doesn't protect them from the reality of the Chinese and Russian threat. Very real threats, by the way. You understand what I'm saying? They're all vying for position to control the entire world. So that's a very real threat. China and Russia and Iran and many other countries are very real threats to the United States, even though our own government are threats to the people of the United States. So a weapon of war, just because it's a weapon of war, right, so-called, doesn't mean that we shouldn't have access to it. Because what if our government declares war on us? What if our government declares war on us without actually saying we're at war with our people? You understand what I'm saying? What if that is the case? Then you want every means available to be able to defend and protect yourself, and to defend your family and defend your children. So that is what a weapon of war is. A weapon of war is a weapon that you want to have access to in case you're drugged into a war of any kind. You understand what I'm saying? And that's just the reality of what a weapon of war is. Now, a weapon of war, there is no such thing. There are weapons that you could use in a war. There are weapons that are designed for war, but that does not mean that you should not have access to that. The only weapon I feel like people shouldn't have access to, even our government, even our military, are nuclear weapons. That is a whole nother ball of wax. That is a problem. But anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Am I on point about what a weapon of war is and whether or not we should have access to that? Or am I too libertarian in my thinking? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And yeah, I'll holler at you guys later. I'm about to come at y'all with another video about the history. I'm going to go into some history about the shooter, the spa shooter, the cat that shot 8 people in Georgia. I'm going to go into a little bit of history on that. So stay tuned. I'll get back at y'all later. Peace.